Hi, Mrs. Franz here, and we are going to start talking about reading and writing decimals. So we've actually been reading them for quite some time now with our first two lessons, but now here in lesson 3, we're going to look at different ways to write and different ways to read these numbers so that we can use their values to discuss how they compare eventually. Okay, so you are going to watch and follow along, answer the questions as they pop up, and let's see how you do. So with reading and writing decimals, we can look at each individual place value in order to read these numbers. So if we have a whole number, we read it based on that place value. Same thing happens with a decimal. So for example, here we have Jessica. She is reading aloud from a science website. She comes across the measurement. How do you say this, do you think? This number right here. So you read it like a whole number, and it's 32, and then you say what place value it is all the way in. So 32 hundredths. So she is reading measurements at 32 hundredths meter, and so how would you do this one? Give it a try. Say it out loud right now. It would be 543, and then what place value is it in? The thousandths. So 543 thousandths meter. How should she read this one? So we just read it out loud, and if you read it correctly like a mathematician, you are going to be able to write it in word form correctly too. So if we break it down in this place value chart, you can easily see that we have a 32. So we read it like a whole number, 32. And actually, there's also something interesting about our numbers that I'm going to make a special note here, that numbers 21 to 99 use a hyphen. So a hyphen is almost like a subtraction sign in between two words. So 32, okay, we have the digits, but now we have to say what place value it's in. So it's 32 hundredths. Okay, 32 hundredths. I know a lot of people will say 0.32 or 0.32. We're understanding what you're saying when you say it that way, but like a mathematician and using your knowledge about place value is reading it 32 hundredths. Well, let's look at a couple different scenarios that might come up. Now we have a 0 in the thousandths place, and we've learned, does this 0 matter? No, not to the value of this number. So we still have a 3 in the tens. We still have a 2 in the hundreds. And 0 is worth nothing. So our value didn't change, but how we read this is. So how do you think right now, knowing what we know about reading like a whole number and seeing its place value, how would we read this? Well, we can't say 32 because technically we have 320. Yeah, that 0 is actually holding a place value, so we need to use it when we're saying this number. So it's a 320, and then what place value does it go to? Thousandths. So we have to write, your pen here, 320. And then because what place value it ends in, we need to write thousandths. Okay? So what about this one? How would you type out this one? Go ahead and give it a try right now. So you should have typed that it was a 540, careful on that spelling, it's very commonly missed, 43, what am I forgetting? Yep, a hyphen. 43, so 543, I can see that as if it was a whole number, and it goes all the way to the thousandths. So we have to write that at the very end. If we didn't have this thousands, we wouldn't know how many place values over this 540 actually was going to fill up. Read it like a whole number and make sure you write the place value that the number ends in, okay? So let's look at different ways that we are going to represent these numbers other than word form and other than standard form. So we have a story problem to think about this with. So we can look at, it says Josh has been tracking the growth of his dog since he was a puppy. He used a meter stick to measure the dog's height and record the height as, how do you read this number? Try it. 604 thousandths meter. Josh's mom asked, how tall is your dog? What does Josh tell his mom? So we're going to look at this in two ways. We're going to look at this with expanded form as a decimal. And not only that, but we are going to look at it, how can we write expanded form as a fraction? Okay. Now, when we look at expanded form, what it's technically doing is it's expanding the number and looking at all the parts and pieces based on place value. So I like to say we sometimes will stretch it out. So let's do that with this number right now. So if we had 604 thousandths, how could we expand this out by its place value? Just a little bit. Well, what we could do first is look at, okay, we have a 6 in the tenths place, but we are also going to have, nothing in the hundredths place. So we don't really, if we don't have a value to represent, we don't have to put it. So then our next value is 4, and 4 is in the thousandths place. So I'm going to expand that and show, okay, the 4 is also in the thousandths place. So I have to put placeholder zeros to show where it actually is at. So I just a little bit expanded that number to show if I would put it back together, it would equal 604 thousandths. We can go a little further, okay? So this is where you take that digit and you rip it out of its place value. So what we can do is still equaling the same number is that I can say I have a 6 in the tenths place. And I put parentheses to kind of keep that place value isolated and show that this is just one place value. Digit, place value. Okay, just like this, I'm going to add to my next piece that has value in our number, and this 4. So I'm going to put parentheses and say, what digit do we have? 4. And then what place value is it in? It's not hundreds, it's thousands, so we have to put thousands. This is 1,000ths. So if these were multiplied together, it would equal 4 thousandths. If these were multiplied together, it would equal 6 tenths. So it's torn away from its place value. You can see it in isolation. But here it's together, but just a little bit out from its original. So how does this translate into fraction version? So same number, we still have 604 thousandths. So we're just gonna take it just a little bit out and show its place value, but the digits in the place value. So what place value is this in? Tenths. So we can write that as a fraction. It would be 6 over 10, 6 tenths. And we would add that to our next value, and that would be 4 hundredths. So we put 4 over 100. Oh, it's not 100, is it? It's 4 what? Thousandths. So I need to put another 0 here to show that 4 is in the thousandth spot. Okay? Now, just like here, we had our digits already in the place value they're in, but this expanded form ripped out the digit from the place value. Well, so we are going to still take this number, 604 thousandths, and let's take the digit out, but using fractions. So we know we're going to have a 6. We know it's going to be multiplied by its place value. And its place value is what again? Tenths. So we're going to write our fraction 1/10 this time. So see how I took the digit out and then its place value is separate. I'm going to add that to our ripped out 4 times 1/1000ths, showing where each digit is in a place value. So this is expanded form. Decimal version, fraction version. A little bit expanded, all the way expanded. Okay? So now let's take this and start writing our decimals in word form. So practicing a little bit here. This is different because we're going to start moving on to what if there's a whole number. And in other words, you can write them as mixed numbers. So the difference between a fraction and a mixed number is there's a whole, okay? So let's review with this one. How would you write this decimal? We just did it, and I've been saying it over and over. It's 600, because we're reading it like a whole number, 604, and then we have to write thousands to show what place value it ends in, since it ends in the thousands. Okay, now this one has a whole number. It's considered like a mixed number. It has a whole and parts of a whole. So there's something special we need to put in there. And it's one word that represents the decimal. Do you know what it is? So we would write our whole number. It's just a 1. How would I know that there's a decimal next? We don't write the word decimal. We don't write the word point. We say the word and. Okay? So for the decimal, we always say the word and. Now, if there's not a whole number, we don't say it. We know that it's a decimal, though, because we go all the way to the thousands, which is on the other side of the decimal. So if there's a whole number, you write it, and then you say the word and then repeat what we did before, because it was just a decimal. 604 thousandths. That's what place value it ends in. Okay? So we always use the word and to represent a decimal and to show that, well, there is a whole number. Okay? So let's practice taking these expanded forms and putting them back. So we've already had the standard form, just the numbers, and we expanded them. So now we're going to go reverse. What if I give you the expanded? Can you tell me what number it is? So to kind of organize our thinking just for the start, I have a place value chart to see where these digits are going. So remember that it looks like our digits are ripped out of the place value. So our numbers are either telling us the digit or telling us the place value. So let's kind of look and see what we have here. We have a 9, so that's a digit because there's no place value called 9, right? And then it looks like in here we have a 3 going in the what place? The tenths. And then we have a 7 going in the hundreds. We have a 1 going in the thousands. So we're going to put this in standard form based off of what it's telling us. We have a 9 in the ones. We have a 3 in the tenths. We have a 7 in the hundreds and a 1 in the thousands. So what's this number? 9 and 371 thousandths. Try this one now. Take a look at how it's expanded. It's not ripped. It's just a little expanded, write this one in. Well, what number would this be? So I see that if I just have an 8, what place value is that in? Should have had an 8, and then of course the decimal, and then because I see that the 4 is in the 10th spot, so I'm going to put it in the 10th. Oh, did you get tricked? This 2 is not next. This is the hundreds place value. What place value is this 2 actually in? It's in the thousands. So you need to put that 2 in the thousand spot. What are we going to do here? What are we going to put? Yep, a placeholder. There was 0. 0 is a placeholder. So then that way our 2 can stay in the thousand spot. Try reading this number now. Practice. Should have said 8 and 402 thousandths. Let's do another one. Try this one right now. Type this one in. What number would you get? It might even be helpful to write down the expanded form and mark it up. I like seeing the digit, and then I like looking at the place value. Sometimes I have to circle one or underline it or even color code it so I can see the difference. So I'll even demonstrate that with this one. Go ahead and write this one down. What number is it? Okay, so I have a 4, a 1, and a 9. Those are my digits I'm working with. But what place value are they in? They're showing it in fraction form this time, and they're torn from it, the place value. So I have a 10th, I have a 100th, and I have a 1,000. So I'm going to write this in. Okay, 4 is in the 10th, okay. And then 1 is in the hundredths, okay. 9 is in the thousands. How'd you do? Oh, did you put a 0 right here? You don't have to. Does it change the value of our 419 thousandths? It doesn't. So if I don't have it, it's still 419 thousandths. If I do have it, it's still 419 thousandths. Okay? Okay, try this one. It's expanded form. Is it ripped from the place value, or is the digit still in the place value? Okay, write in your number. What do you think? So I see that we have a 6, and it's in the ones. I have a 5, and it's in the hundreds. Ooh. Did that get you? 4 is in the thousands. So what am I going to need still? That placeholder in the tens. We didn't represent the tens at all because there's no value. How'd you do? All right, we'll continue practicing. Go ahead and make sure that you have submitted all the way. How did it go? Do you feel comfortable writing and reading decimals?